All right, folks, welcome in. This is Off the Edge, and we have a show for you. We're going to be talking about all 32 teams today. We're going to go through, we're going to talk about their free agency period, what is going on right now. Really looking forward to this thing. But before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Enjoy, stay a little while, because free agency is here. And we're starting off with the AFC North, Cam, because I don't know what to make of the whole Ravens thing, but that was, you played in the NFL. That wasn't a really good look for the rest of the league. So the Ravens nix their own trade for Max Crosby. Okay. They give up 2 first-round picks. They nix that trade, and they end up signing Trey Hendrickson the very next day.
Not bad. Not bad, Jake. Not bad.
I mean no one's saying it's a bad, value move. It's a better move. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Trey Hendrickson didn't have the market that we were kind of told he was going to have. So it makes sense. But when you make a trade before the league year starts, Cam, and I know people are going to say, well, the semantics, no. You're making that in good faith. This is bad business practice, and the Ravens are going to be punished for this. So there's going to be a lot of teams around the league that no longer want to trade with them. And rightfully so.
Yeah, I agree, Jake. It doesn't look good, right? Max Crosby, everyone was waiting for it. We were excited about it. He finally got out of the Raiders black hole, that doom there. My dad's a Raiders fan, and I was like, dude, good on you on getting some, John Spytek's doing a good job of getting guys in, but Max Crosby making that change was great. And I think Ravens GM Eric DaCosta, he's a different way of vetting talent, Jake. I think he goes by their astrology and all those different things. So I feel what you're saying. That is bad business. And the way I look at it, Jake, and the way people should look at it on the business side, take out the human Max Crosby out. And it's if you're going to shop for an apartment, you're going to look for a job, or you're going to look for a home, you get the 4-point inspection, you make sure the AC works and everything works. And I feel like with that transaction, everything from Max Crosby didn't add up, right? I guess he had a lower knee injury and it wasn't great. And so they were like, okay, well, we're going to go to the house down the street. This house isn't as great as in Trey Hendrickson, right? Because Max Crosby is an all-world player, probably going to be a Hall of Famer. But Trey Hendrickson did have 12 and a half sacks, Jake, in 2025. He's been battling with the Bengals back and forth because they didn't want to pay him. And so you look at it damn, they did Max Crosby dirty, but then Trey Hendrickson, they did him a solid, because he had a tough time at the Bengals. He was trying to opt out of his contracts multiple years. And so I'm glad that they have a good pass rusher, right, for Jesse Minter, the new head coach, and that's awesome. But Max Crosby, I really feel bad for him, and I hope something happens for him. And staying at the Raiders, brutal. Clint Kubiak's great, Jake. He just won a Super Bowl, but I just feel bad for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say this. I think when it comes to Crosby, I feel for him. I really feel for the Raiders here. They just spent all that money. They threw money at Jalen Naylor. They brought back Kuntz for over $10 million for a year. They just paid the highest paid player at the position of center. Right? They go out and they get Linderbaum. This was a lot. Kwity Paye was signed. They bring back Eric Stokes. They signed Nakobe Dean. They signed Quay Walker. Do they make all those moves, by the way? If, Crosby was still on the roster, they're cap compliant, Cam. No one's going to feel sorry for them in cap space because they got not 20. They got about 50 million still.
Yeah, but, and then they got the first overall pick. People aren't, I feel you.
Yeah, but it's now they made those moves feeling like in their head, we're going to have 2 first-round picks. And now that kind of changes some things. So it changes a lot of things for other teams too. Like the Cowboys were interested. They move on. They go out and get Rashawn Gary. We'll talk about all of that. But, to just kind of wrap up the Ravens doing this, I thought was really, it's a great move value-wise. It's a really bad precedent that's being set here. And then they did end up signing a talented safety, Jalen Hawkins, who just won the AFC Championship with the Patriots, was in a Super Bowl, and then they re-signed Chidobe Awuzie. Surprising, good talent. I was a little surprised to see him come back, but they signed him to a 1-year, $5 million deal. I think that's a good move. I think so far the Ravens haven't done a ton They did lose some guys, obviously, in free agency, especially Linderbaum. You look at Isaiah Likely. You look at Charlie Kohler. So they've lost their own guys, Ardarius Washington. But I've liked what they've done. I just don't like the lack of good faith behind what they've done.
Yeah, and Jake, also the way I would look at it as well, right, is don't put the cart before the horse and be careful. Be like, I saw Max Crosby like posting on the social media like he's in Baltimore and everything like that. Like, you can't lock something in until the paperwork is signed. And I think that's just a message for everyone that's listening. Like, hey, make sure you sign a dotted line before you move forward. So it is unfortunate, but hey, the Ravens realize, hey, we have to switch this thing out because they're trying to win a championship. They're trying to do right by Lamar Jackson. So it is very unfortunate, but they're going to say, it's business, my guy. Unfortunately, it sucks for Max Crosby. It's the biggest storyline, I think, of free agency.
Have you seen anything like that before?
Outside of real estate? No. not saying players are real estate, but dude, like, these GMs are looking at it as a business, sadly, and like they're trying to figure out how to win championships. And if you get a guy like Max Crosby whose knees hurt, you're expecting him to play right away. He probably can't go to training. So I'd imagine he would pull like a Matthew Stafford. Can't go to OTAs, can't go to training camp. He's pretty much neck up for all of the preseason, and then he gets going during the season. That's kind of tough. And I mean, Jake, you've seen it, right? Where Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, cracks his Achilles, and then he's done for the season. And you would hate for a guy like Max Crosby to get there. His knee is done. He's out for the whole season. And then you're like, now what? So there's both sides of the coin. But at the end of the day, I think your statement about it being bad business, I think that's the title for this one.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, I think there's a lot to this. Yeah, I guess we'll see. I think this also really muddies the water because now I don't think the Raiders keep Crosby. I think this is the worst Knicks deal since Chris Paul was Knicks to the Lakers by the actual commissioner of basketball. And we know what the motivation was there. It was, of course, the Hornets were being sold and, they wanted to make sure they got the right price. But no, I can't believe that. But looking at the rest of the division, the Steelers, I really like what they did. They traded for and extended Michael Pittman Jr., who I will say is a much better receiver than DK Metcalf. So they upgrade there. Yep, I'm going to say it. Guy is actually going to block. He's going to put in effort. I don't have to worry about him swatting at fans in the stands. So he's going to be hilarious on the field. Then they go out and they get Rico Dowdle, Cam.
That's the best move they made, Jake. That's the best. I think that's the best move they made.
It would be, but come on, you know your Buccaneers going out and getting Jamel Dean for that price. That man led the league in the lowest targeted passer rating in the NFL. Jamel Dean is a slam dunk signing for the Steelers. And I know they don't have their quarterback yet, which is probably going to be Aaron Rodgers, right? It's probably the worst kept secret ever. But I like what the Steelers have done. They also brought back, they extended Cam Hayward. So nice. I like some of the things that they've done, Cam. I think this is a team to look out for because I'm not high on the Ravens. I don't get me wrong. I like Minter. I like the hiring there. But you look at this division, this is probably the Steelers' division to lose at this point, and they just got better.
Yeah, I agree, Jake. I think I will go back and say Jamel Dean, great guy. He's a Tampa guy. I know his partner. My lady knows his lady. Like, it's all love. I talked to a Steelers fan. They were like, yo, Steelers are known for signing old-ass cornerbacks. Not saying he's an old-ass cornerback, but my rebuttal to that was he has championship experience. He practiced against Tom Brady and Baker Mayfield. He's practiced against real guys, and he's found success. Like you just mentioned his stats. He can play good ball, but at the end of the day, you got to think about the wear and tear. You even go into the situation for the 49ers with Mike Evans, right? You're getting an older gentleman. We'll talk about that later, but you're getting an older gentleman who's come on the back end of their career, similar to Jamel Dean. And what is he going to bring to the table? I know he's going to help Joey Porter Jr. and stepping up at that corner position. And then you got Jalen Ramsey stepping back to the safety position. So I love the move, but I'm really more excited about the Rico Dowdle move, Jake. Chuba Hubbard, I think, kicked him back, back to his position after he came back because Chuba Hubbard gave the Rams that work. And so Rico Dowdle, I was really nervous about him when the Rams played him, but he had those 200-yard rushing seasons. And to my Steelers fans, I told them, I'm like, hey, Gainwell, he's a good running back, but he's not a game breaker. Like the Steelers needed a game breaker to open things up for Aaron Rodgers, to open things up for DK Metcalf. And so I think they have that now with Michael Pittman Jr. I mean, he was a force at the Colts. And so I think him being there now in that running game, Jake, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to be able to run the football, brother. Like you look at the Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks, that's how they dominated with Kenneth Walker. They ran the damn ball. And Rico Dowdle, he's going to give the Steelers team some life, and I love it, bro. I think they're going to be a force to reckon with. Like you mentioned, it's theirs to lose.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. They got him for cheap. I think it's like $6 million a year, and it's 2-year deal. And I think it's a smart move. I don't think Dowdle should have signed that quickly. Like I feel like some of these guys need to be told, like, free agency is a marathon, not a sprint. Like you don't need to go out and sign the first deal possible. And so I'm seeing some of these deals, and I think some of them are like really lucrative, right? But then other ones, it's like, man, that was that you got underpaid quite a bit there. And it's like
Bryce Young
too.
Bryce Young or Aaron Rodgers. I agree with you, but I think the money for Rico might not have been a thing, Jake. He might have been like, hey, I can. For Aaron Rodgers' last dance, I can be a part of that. Or I got Bryce Young, who is a young quarterback. He's starting to figure things out a little bit, but he's like, let me go finish with Aaron Rodgers with the GOAT. And then I'm sure after that, his value would increase because at the end of the day, Jake, everyone's going to watch Aaron Rodgers, and who's going to be right next to him? Rico Dowdle. So,
and I see in the comments section from Takeover LA, I mean, losing Isaac Samalo to, the Cardinals, that is a loss. So now guard is definitely going to be a position that either the Steelers, here's what I would say. I think they're going to look at bringing back James Daniels. He's had a hard time staying healthy, which is the biggest thing. So I think you draft somebody there. You have Jack Driscoll still, and then you sign James Daniels, who has familiarity. And I think that makes sense for the Steelers. But losing Sumalo does hurt the run game. So it's going to be dependent on who they look at to replace him, because if they're taking kind of a net loss there, then that hurts the run game. But all things considered, I mean, the Steelers, you look at on paper, they got a really good roster right now. I think they're very underrated. And I think they've kind of become the butt of a joke because they can't get out of that first round. But going out and getting somebody like Rico Dowdle and Jamel Dean and Michael Pittman Jr. is how you get out of that rut.
What do you think about Mike McCarthy, though? What do you think?
I mean, he's incredibly underrated. I wouldn't have made that move. I think the Steelers needed to make a game breaker. I think they needed to go after a Shieldhoss or somebody like that, from the Rams. But look, I mean, people can say what they will about Mike McCarthy. The guy's a winner. He wins.
Yeah. He's from Pittsburgh, I think, too. So he loves it there. Yeah, that's it's a win. It's a win-win, a culture win. And like you said, he gets dubbed. So, and he has a great running back, great quarterback. I don't say expiring quarterback and a quarterback who's on the other side.
I would. I mean, dude, I like Aaron Rodgers as much as the next guy, but come on now. Yeah. I mean, how much longer does he have? And I think we're going to find that out because, I mean, if we go into the season, Aaron Rodgers week 1 just looks like he has hit that decline. He's hit that wall. I mean, what do the Steelers do from here? I mean, that's the interesting thing. You got Mason Rudolph and Will Howard currently on the roster. Will Howard is a late day 3 pick, okay? You can develop him, but I think that the Steelers are still going to look for the draft. I still think there are opportunities out there for some of these quarterbacks. I mean, you look at, does Joe Flacco potentially go to the Steelers? That would be an interesting backup. You're adding more, age, right? But that would be interesting. Does Tyrod Taylor, who's older, but he has some mobility, right? He's a really good backup.
He dresses really well.
Yeah. Do you go after, what do you do if the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers, I think, is a foregone conclusion, but if you sign Aaron Rodgers, do you also have an opportunity to now bring in a Trey Lance or Zach Wilson or trade for an Anthony Richardson? Do you feel like you take that time to also develop in the back end? Or are you looking at it more, if you're all in with Aaron Rodgers, do you need that also veteran backup quarterback? And so that's really what they're going to have to figure out.
I'm gonna go vet. I'm gonna go vet, Jake, because Will Howard, he won the national championship at Ohio State. So like, what other quarterback is winning national championships besides the first pick that's going to the Raiders? You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you have a Will Howard, you develop him, and then you get a Tyrod Taylor or a Joe Flacco who can step in and win games, right? Like, I'm glad the Ravens re-signed Tyler Huntley. I want to go back up to the Ravens. I'm glad they re-signed him because he can go in and win games. When Lamar Jackson's down, he can go and win football games. But I agree. I think I like that veteran presence because you have a young guy in Will Howard, and then maybe get somebody later on in the draft, But
no, I agree. I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm not as high on Will Howard, but I'm one of those people that believes if you're going to go all in and you have a veteran quarterback, and that quarterback, let's just say, he's getting up there in age, more likely to get injured, you want a veteran backup, behind him. And I feel the same way, you look at the other veterans in this league. I mean, when they signed Kirk Cousins, the Falcons decided to go in a different direction of that. And they're like, all right, well, we're going to get the guy for the future. In Penix Jr. Now it's a whole weird thing because they just signed Tua. We'll get into that later. But I think you look at like a Matthew Stafford with the Rams, and he's had Jimmy Garoppolo behind him, and I think he's going to have somebody like a Kirk Cousins behind him this year. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Number 3, since now because you have to keep 3 quarterbacks because of the new rules, like you get a free pass. You can be inactive, but he's the emergency guy that can suit up. It makes no sense not to keep 3 quarterbacks. Because of that, I think it gives you more of a chance than it did back in the day, where now you can keep that 3rd quarterback as a developmental option and have a legitimate fringe starting quarterback as your backup.
Yeah, just in case things get spooky, Jake, right? Quarterback is currency, and if you can't put a good product out there if your quarterbacks are hurt. So I love that. I love that rule. And Steelers, I think out of this division, Jake, the AFC North, I think the Steelers won this division so far. I think they won the division. Not we'll say won it, but in free agency, they won free agency so far. I just love the moves that they made, with especially Michael Pittman Jr. and Rico Dowdle. Outstanding to me.
And then the Browns. I don't love the head coach. I think that was a really bad hire from them, but Zion Johnson, getting Elton Jenkins, those guys are going to help the offensive line. You also bring back Tevin Jenkins, so you're going to have 2 Jenkins on the offensive line, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And then you go out and you trade for, I'm totally blanking on his name from the Texans, but you trade for a tackle there, and
Quincy Williams? No.
No. I mean, they signed Quincy Williams and they signed Joe Tryon-Shoyinka as well, but they traded for Tyree. I cannot remember his name right now for whatever reason. But anyway, the Browns, they got a lot of flack for blowing up their offensive line. They literally got rid of every single one of their starting offensive linemen, and they're starting anew. And I mean, the Browns are the Browns, man. I don't hate what they did, but at the same time, Titus Howard, thank you.
Nice. Take over LA. Much love. That's love from the chat right there.
Appreciate you. Yeah, I was totally blanking on his name for a sec. Titus Howard, I think that was a good pickup by them. I have no idea why the Texans traded him, but I like what the Browns did making that move. It starts from the inside out, and they're building from the inside out. Now, one thing I just can't give the Browns credit for is the whole Deshaun Watson thing. You've seen it, okay? Kyler Murray is a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson. It is not even remotely close, okay? And the Cardinals just ate all of Kyler Murray's contract up front. They just cut him pre-June 1st. They're going to take on the hit, okay? They're trying to get out of a bad contract. You know what the Browns did? They doubled down. They kicked that can down the road. They restructured this man's deal. This is one of the worst contracts. This is one of the worst decisions. This is one of the worst trades in the history of the NFL, and they doubled down on it, Cam. So, I can't in good faith say, yeah, the Browns have had a great offseason when that's part of their offseason. But we're just talking about who they've signed. I don't have any issue with those guys. Quincy Williams, I mean, he plays like his hair's on fire. Tryon-Shoyinka is just, kind of one of those rotational edges that they're going to need.
A little bit more, yeah.
Yeah, but Elton Jenkins, coming off a major injury, I still think you got him at good value in Zion Johnson. It's going to bolster the interior of your offensive line with Tevin Jenkins back. The Browns have a good offensive line on paper, so I guess that's going to help Deshaun Watson / Shedeur Sanders at this point.
Yeah, well, Jake, I mean, think about it. Joe Flacco was a quarterback for the Browns for a bit. He did what he was supposed to do, and he went to the Cincinnati Bengals and did what he's supposed to do. And I think when you have older seasoned quarterbacks and you got younger guys like Shador stepping up, if they're running for their lives, if they're getting smoked, it's like, okay, why is this happening? Why can't we move the football? And like you mentioned, it starts inside. So a revamp of the offensive line, I love to see it. Todd Monken, he was a offensive coordinator for the Ravens for a while, and he was at the Buccaneers when I was there. What I will say is he's a player's coach, right? He had Mike Evans, Deshaun Watson, Chris Godwin, and they enjoyed him as a coach and as a person. And so I think it's more of a character thing. Hey, let's get the culture going in a proper direction in this locker room. And see what happens there. So Todd Monken, and they have Mike Ruttenberg. He's a DC. He was the DC for the Falcons, Jets linebacker coach. He's now the defensive coordinator there. And so I like the change, Jake. At the end of the day, the Browns need as much change as they can get. And then going to the Deshaun Watson piece, I look at this, Jake, as I know they went through a lot of legal trouble with Deshaun Watson. And it's almost like it's like trauma bonded. I feel like their relationship is trauma bonded. They've been through so much with him. And I think through that, they probably spent so much money on legal issues, whatever those things are. And they're like, you know what, bro, like you've seen so much, you've done so much. Let's just keep you in the house. Like become a coach later on. And
you know what that is,
doesn't work out for you. What's that?
You've stayed at the roulette table too long. Oh, I just know my lucky number's coming. I just know. And you are way down in the red. Yeah. Like you're going over the ATM every 2 seconds and you're taking out 20, 20, 20, 20, and all of a sudden you're like, it's just $20. And then you just realized you spent about $800 for about an hour of your entertainment at a roulette table. I mean, dude.
I love the analogy. They're down. Long story short, Jake, the Browns are down bad, brother.
Yes, down bad. Yes. 4 out of the 5 offensive linemen. I like what they have there. I will sign off on that. Quincy Williams adding to one of the best defenses, I think, on paper. I like that.
Devin Bush left, so you need a guy to come replace him. So I like that as well.
Yeah, I don't like the Deshaun Watson double down, but. Moving on, we have the Bengals here, and they just got worse because they lost Trey Hendrickson, but they knew they were going to lose Trey Hendrickson. And to be honest with you, I'm going to side with the Bengals here. I think they gave him every opportunity to come back at a really good value for him, for them. They kept trying to pay him, and I just think he just didn't want to stay, which, that's fine, but I don't think the Bengals should be looked at like they were underpaying or screwing him over. So they go out and they get Boye Mafe. And they get Brian Cook. And Boye Mafe is a guy that you and I have talked about highly of. Really good player. He's going to help them. And this defense needs it, man. And then Brian Cook is maybe the best safety on the market. I mean, it's between him. It's between Cam Curl, who's back with the Rams, and Kobe Bryant, who we'll talk about, going to the Bears. I mean, those are really the best safeties on the market. Brian Cook leaves the Kansas City Chiefs, heads on over to the Cincinnati Bengals to play with DJ Turner, Dax Hill, Jalen Davis, Jordan Battle. So that secondary got better for sure. I mean, this is a guy that can he has a nose for the end zone. He can make plays, but he's good in run support as well. So you see like a well-rounded safety. And Mafe had like a streak of like 8 straight games with a sack. I mean, he's consistent. Yeah. He's going to create pressure. They need that.
Yeah, and we talk about top performers, Jake, during our weekly show during the season. And Boye Mafe has showed up on that list multiple times. And at some point, we were like, him and Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson, at some point, we were like, okay, we got to stop adding these guys, but they're playing really well, highly productive. And then also you mentioned Brian Cook. What I'm hearing, Jake, coming from the Chiefs, what I'm hearing is championship caliber, taking championship players and bringing them to the Browns, who are down bad, and they need a change up of culture, of gameplay, of everything you can think of. And so the thing is for Todd Monken is, how do I, not saying to extract that championship flavor and sprinkle it across everything, but how can I, elevate, promote? How can I push those guys forward to let these other guys know, ownership, Jake, the cafeteria folks, like, hey, this is how we did it at the Seahawks. This is how we did it at the Chiefs, and we need to implement that here. So if I am Todd Monken, sorry, I'm talking about the Bengals. Sorry. If the Bengals too, though, right? Bengals, Browns, tomato, tomato. But if I'm the Bengals, I'm sitting those two guys down and saying, hey, what have they done over there at the Chiefs and at the Seahawks? How can we implement some of those things here? And let's win some football games, dang it, because it hasn't been great over there. I know they got some Jamar Chase, they got some great guys. They can play some ball, but they need to win football games. It's about that time.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And they have an offense that, I mean, I don't love their offensive line, but they have the weapons, they have the quarterback, they have the run game that, I mean, this Bengals team can win you games. And if a defense is able to step up and not do what they did against the Bears last year, I mean, that game was ridiculous. Then, hey, you have a chance to win any game with, Joe Burrow under center. And that we saw that against the Bills, that Buffalo game, the way Burrow played. I mean, they had every opportunity to win that game in the snow. So we move on from the AFC North to the NFC North. We're going to start off with the Bears. Speaking of the Bears.
Bears.
They freed up a lot of cap space. They end up, they cut some guys there.
Tremaine Edmonds, that hurts.
Yeah. No, they cut some guys to make some room, and they also lost Drew Dahlman to retirement. So it was a little surprising to see the Bears not end up with Linderbaum, but they did build up that defense, and they did add a piece from Ben Johnson's tenure with the Lions that can help in the receiving game, but also the return game in Khalif Raymond. So love the pickup of Kobe Bryant. They ended up losing Byard to the Patriots, so they move on with Kobe Bryant, really good player. I mean, you see the range, and it's evident on film. This guy's going to really help you out. Then you have Devin Bush, also talk about range, a guy that can move all over the field. And you have Neville Gallimore, who was huge for the Rams down the stretch in their 2024 playoff run. Neville Gallimore is kind of this underrated piece that has really kind of made a name for himself as a rotational guy. I think the Bears got better. Now, they have a lot of cap space. They could still get somebody like a Max Crosby. I don't know if they will, but I liked what the Bears have done to this point.
Yeah, the Bears, I mean, just what they've done to their whole program, Jake. We just talked to a red in the face about the AFC North, who needs to get better. We talked about the Browns, we talked about the Bengals, and I hope they take a page out of the Bears' notebook, because they're just getting better and better, right? We talked about Tremaine Edmonds leaving. He's a leader on that defense. And then getting Devin Bush, another leader who's been suffering over the Browns, and then now on a team that's finally winning games, which is great. And so I love the move there. And then one other thing that hurt my heart too for the Bears and Caleb Williams, DJ Moore. I mean, he was their go-to guy. Seeing him catch the football and versus the Packers, that end zone catch was freaking sick. And so they really relied on him. And so the fact that he's gone is really tough, but he's now going to the Billies. So he has a chance to actually win some games, get to the playoffs, and really do his thing there. But
I thought that was a great trade, by the way. Now that you bring that up, yeah. I thought the Bears won that trade by a lot.
So DJ Moore, you're not too high on DJ Moore.
Yeah. So my thing is, I didn't like the effort last year.
Agreed. We talked about that. He gave up on those fourth quarters. He gave up on some of those routes.
You actually put me on to this. He walks off the field on like multiple plays last year. It's on tape. Yeah. Like you can see him just walking off the field. Like, oh, I'm not going to get the ball. Okay. Well, what happens then? Well, now the guy who's guarding you just walked off the field. You're an ineligible receiver. He can go over and now double team the actual intended receiver. Obviously, there's not really enough time to do that, but it's just really I can't believe we're talking about a guy in the NFL who has been a 4-time 1,000-yard receiver, and I'm sitting here like the Bills gave up way too much, and I don't, frankly, trust DJ Moore to be a number one receiver. I mean, he just had 682 yards this past year. He didn't have 1,000 yards a year before that. He's shown that when his head is on straight, he is a very, very good receiver. But I just have no reason to believe that he was worth what they gave up. I think the Bears really did the right thing. And by the way, at the end of the year, they were starting to play, my guy out of, Mizzou a lot more, Luther Burden III. They're going to be A-okay. They didn't need him, and now they got some draft capital where they can replace him pretty easily and cost effectively because that's not a good contract that they took on.
Yeah. And also too, right, he then goes to the Bills where they're putting the blame on Keon Coleman for not doing what he's supposed to do, a young guy. So, and then before that, then you have the Diggs brother, Stephon Diggs, who's there, and he has a personality thing. And so it sounds like with the Bills, they're bringing on guys with strong personalities, which is great sometimes. But I'm talking about this with strong personalities because then I'm thinking about Mike Evans. I'm like, Mike Evans has been a 1,000-yard receiver for about 10 years straight. He goes to work. He does what he's supposed to do. And like, that's where the standard is supposed to be, right? He's not getting in trouble, in the offseason, right? I think about Puka Nacua, right? Doing a lot, he's streaming, he's doing a lot of things, but he's doing what he's supposed to do. And I think, I'm skipping to the 49ers, but that was a steal from the Buccaneers getting Mike Evans to be that red zone threat. I know Kittle's down and everything like that, but I'm just talking about the receivers right now and the personalities and what they bring to the table. And so DJ Moore going to the Bills, leaving the Bears. Jake, maybe Ben Johnson was tired of dealing with him. Maybe he was sick of his shit and it was like, hey,
I mean,
just get out.
I was sick of his shit and he doesn't even play for my team. So,
yeah, that's real.
But I think kind of looking at where Ben Johnson came from, it's interesting how the Lions have seemingly started to fall off the map.
Off the cliff, brother. Yeah.
They're signing Cade Mays to replace Frank Ragnow. They cut Glasgow. They cut Taylor Decker. They trade away David Montgomery and the Texans. They signed Isaiah Pacheco.
The Texans need him, though. I will say that.
They did. No, that was a good move by the Texans. I have no idea what the Lions are doing except for the fact that they're kind of paying the price, right? They signed a lot of guys. People were like, how are they doing all this? How are they getting all these players? And now rent is due. And they don't have enough money to pay it. So they're like, what do you do? What do you do in Monopoly when you don't have enough to pay the person that you're playing with? You mortgage your assets there. So that's what they're doing. And, for Lions fans, it definitely kind of brings home what Dan Campbell was saying is like, that might have been our only chance, when they got as close as they did getting the AFC title game. So not great. If you're a Lions fan right now, I don't like what they did. I think Pacheco's a great signing, but they lost a lot of guys. And I just frankly don't think the Lions are going to be that great. I mean, I think the Lions are going to be one of those teams that they have enough talent, because the guys that they have paid, like Jack Campbell, is one of the best linebackers in football.
Young guy too.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff still playing at a good level. Like, you have those pieces. Yeah. But then there are other pieces that you have, and they're like, they're getting overpaid, and now you're letting all these guys go, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, cutting your left tackle and Taylor Decker, that's not a good sign. That's a big question mark there. So I don't love what the Lions did. I don't know about you. We don't have to spend too much time on them because they didn't really do a whole lot. But those are my thoughts on the Lions. Okay.
One thing I will say, Jake, I think the X factor on two things. One, I think letting go Alex Anzalone to the Buccaneers is tough because he balled out, Jake. Fingers are broken. He's still making plays. He's sacking the quarterback. He's picking the football off. He's tackling people. But Jack Campbell's there, and he's the guy, so I get it. On the offensive side, though, Drew Petzing, offensive coordinator, he was at the Cardinals beforehand, and what he did with Jacoby Brissett was outstanding, Jake. That Jacoby Brissett at one point, you don't like him. I get it. Yeah. I get it. But Jared Goff needs some support, brother. Ben Johnson left, and Jared Goff is looking like the Jared Goff that we know, right? We cover the Rams a lot, and it's like, Ben Johnson's gone. You're doing some of the same things that you always do, but when Ben Johnson was there, he was an MVP candidate, Jake. We're talking about the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, and he was on that list. So Drew Petzing, to see what he did for that Cardinals offense with Kyler Murray, went down, Jacoby Brissett. I think it was Trey, the tight end for the Cardinals. He led the league in receptions at a tight end position, which is insane. Jacoby Brissett, I think, had a game with like 40 receptions. I mean, they're breaking records, and so I know you don't like Drew Petzing. I think they're fixing their running game, which is great with Isaiah Pacheco, and then you got a guy that knows how to call some great pass game in the game of football. So I think he'll be the X factor. I think they'll turn things around a little bit. I know you don't like him, Jake. Why don't you like Drew Petzing?
I thought he absolutely failed the Cardinals. I thought in my opinion, the play calling was atrocious, and he was only good until once Jacoby Brissett came in, and it was like week 11. Like, we give him credit for how Michael Wilson ended up being at the end. It took him until week 11 to know what he had in Michael Wilson. I could have told you what you had in Michael Wilson week 1.
And he was cooking, and Michael Wilson was cooking the Rams, Jake. Like, fourth quarter, he was cooking us, bro.
He was cooking everybody. He's a great receiver. He only fell in the draft at coming out of Stanford because of all the injuries. But I mean, if he stays healthy, he could be a wide receiver 1. And I just feel like Petzing had all those weapons. How did the Cardinals only win 3 games?
The run game, because our guy from Pitt, he got hurt. I can't think of his name right now, but
James Conner. They're bringing him back, so that's cool. But
that's cool. But Jake, I think this goes back to the Steelers situation with Gainwell and those guys in the Steelers. They didn't have a dominant run game, and same thing with the Cardinals. They didn't have a dominant run game, so it's hard to get your offense going if your run game isn't solid. I just go back to the Seattle Seahawks, bro. The way that they ran that football was unbelievable, and it was hard for people to catch up. Of course, you got Jason that's catching the football, which is everyone's dream. But without a running game, it's and Jake, we cover the Rams, bro. At one point 3 years ago, our offensive line was trash. We weren't running the football, and we started calling our show "Run the Damn Ball." And so, if you got a run game, I think you can make things happen. So Jahmyr Gibbs, Isaiah Pacheco, hopefully they'll help Drew Petzing out and get things going.
How about the Packers, by the way?
Zaire.
They had an interesting little thing. So they end up trading Colby Wooden away to get linebacker Zaire Franklin, who's going to replace who they lost with the Raiders, Quay Walker.
Quay Walker. Yeah.
So that's interesting. And then they also signed Sky Moore, I think mainly to be a returner. They have a bunch of like really mid wide receivers out there, so I think he's just going to
slot guy. Yeah.
Sean Ryan was re-signed, and I mean he's great. They moved on from Elton Jenkins. They cut him. They signed Benjamin St-Juste. He played great last year. He just barely played. Like, if you keep him in like a limited role, I think Benjamin St-Juste can be really good. The problem is, like, Washington had him playing over 1,000 snaps, and he was getting picked on. So I think St-Juste, that size. I mentioned him a few times during the offseason, how he'd be a pretty interesting corner to sign for like a rotation. I like that pickup. Now, trading away Rashawn Gary was really surprising to me. Maybe it shouldn't have been. Maybe I missed the mark on that. But the Cowboys go out and get Rashawn Gary. I thought that was a great move by the Cowboys. We'll talk about that. But last thing I'll say, they're cutting Nate Hobbs. I don't agree with that. I think Hobbs is a really good player. I think he's underrated. I think he's a great tackler. He's physical. I think that's a good cornerback that's just entering the market there. So tells me that the Packers are probably looking at the draft to address more of the cornerback position, unless they want to go, start St-Juste. I don't really see that. I think he's going to be a rotational guy. That's what he should be. But all in all, I thought the Packers had it, pretty, okay, this is cool. This is not like, I don't like love this, like whatever. They just had like a fine offseason. I mean, losing Gary is going to sting. Zaire Franklin is a leader. He's somebody that is going to be a tackling machine. And I think he's going to work well with Edger and Cooper. So I think those two work well in tandem. Sean Ryan had to be brought back, but having to cut Elton Jenkins and trade away Rashawn Gary, that hurts. So I don't know. It's interesting with them.
And my question is, Rashawn Gary, Michael Parsons, what was that combination like? Because I'd imagine, like, if it didn't fit, we got to get rid of him. That's number one. Second, for the Packers, Jonathan Gannon coming in. We talked about the Cardinals recently, a former head coach, but now he's defensive coordinator. Clearly, he liked Zaire Franklin. Clearly, Zaire Franklin, the Syracuse guy, has given him some problems. He's like, hey, put him on my team. So what I will say, giving away Quay Walker to the Raiders, he's a UGA Bulldog. Got rid of a dog and then got a dog back with Zaire Franklin. So I'm really excited for him to play behind Michael Parsons. I think it's similar to playing like with like Aaron. I don't say with the Aaron Donald, but like I had a chance to play with Aaron, had a chance to play with Zaire. And so I'm curious to see what his stories are like. Like, yeah, I played with Micah. We raced every day in practice and he probably beat me, whatever it is. But I'm just excited to see what comes from that. You mentioned the Sky Moore. Sky Moore has championship caliber. championship juice coming from the Chiefs. And so I like bringing that flow into this Packers team because, Jake, the Packers, I mean, we talk about the quarterback, Jordan Love. They got guys all around, and I would like to see them win. And then, yeah, bro, like I mentioned, Jonathan Gannon, what's he going to do, right? He has a dog in Zaire Franklin. How is he going to empower Zaire to run that defense and for those guys to be successful? So I'm curious to see what they're going to do there.
Yeah, and then looking at the Vikings, I like the re-signing of Eric Wilson. I thought he was kind of underrated. I know he's getting up there in age. You know, he's in his 30s now, but yeah, I mean, I think re-signing him is smart. I think he fits the Brian Flores defense, but a guy that really I think was a really good signing. And it happened early. I thought this was going to be like a later wave guy. He had excellent tape. He just didn't play that much with the Steelers. It's James Pierre. I love that pickup. I think he's incredibly underrated. And then they ended up cutting defensive lineman Javon Hargrave, you know, situational pass rusher interior guy. That is definitely, if he hasn't already caught on somewhere, he will. They are the favorites for Kyler Murray. So what do you make of the Ravens so far? Or excuse me, the Vikings so far? Because it's like they weren't able to do a whole lot. They were kind of left in a really bad cap space. When it came to Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. He did a horrible job as a GM, in my opinion. I mean, you look at the books and you're like, oh, what the this is war crime. Aaron Jones, you know, he took a restructure. He's back. TJ Hawkinson took a pay cut. He's back. So they had to try and fix things, but it's not great right now in Minnesota. I think Kyler Murray is a great fit, though. I think Kyler Murray. And it's going to be really fascinating because all these people that said he would never work in a Sean McVay offense, well, we're about to see if he's going to work in a Kevin O'Connell offense, which is very similar. So that is the thing that makes me fascinated and excited. You look at Kyler throwing to guys like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and, you know, having Aaron Jones and, you know, having TJ Hawkinson. Maybe they add another guy to replace Jalen Naylor, who I think is a loss, by the way. I think that was a decent loss there. Kind of underrated player. I think a Murray signing, and they're the favorites for him. Things can change. But as of right now, a Murray signing really makes this a better offseason than what it was looking like.
Yeah, and I think, too, for the Vikings, I think they're going to have to go hard in the draft. They're going to have to figure it out. J.J. McCarthy, respectfully, they need somebody else that can step in and make big plays. You also mentioned the GM for the Vikings, the former GM. He let go Sam Darnold, and that was a huge mistake, right? Because the next year, Sam Darnold goes to the Seahawks, wins the chip, and does it all. And so that was very unfortunate. But I think with this Vikings team, they're going to have to figure something out during the draft, or like you mentioned, make a big splash with Kyler Murray. Do they bring back Kirk Cousins? I don't know, but they have to do something, Jake, because like I mentioned before, J.J. McCarthy, I love his energy. I love the way he brings to the game of football, but I don't think he's getting it done over there.
He ain't it.
He ain't it, brother.
He ain't it. Like, honestly, if they had Tyrod Taylor last year, they might have been something to look out for. Somebody as simple as Tyrod Taylor or Joe Flacco. Like, I'm being that honest. Like, they have all those weapons out there. You get to throw to one of the best receivers in the league in Jefferson and Addison. I mean, yeah,
Kirk Cousins. What's up with Kirk, Jake? Come on, remarry. Let's go. Let's do this. Run it back.
I think Kirk might go somewhere else.
Okay. To be continued.
Or let's just say follow the horns.
Follow the horns. Follow the horns. I like what you did there. Nice little foreshadow, my brother.
Yeah, so AFC West time. We're not going to spend too much on the Raiders since we already really talked about the Raiders. Max Crosby trade is next. They signed Tyler Linderbaum. They signed Kwity Paye, Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean. They re-signed Eric Stokes. They re-signed Malcolm Kuntz. They signed Jalen Naylor, who we were just talking about. Real quick, what is your thoughts on their offseason? Because, Cam, I would say I think the Linderbaum deal is absolutely insane to pay him $9 million more than the next center, but I like what they did, getting Dean, Walker, Paye, bringing back Stokes, like Naylor. I think they gave up Naylor a little bit too much money, but like they're gonna have the number 1 overall pick. They're gonna take Fernando Mendoza. Yeah. I think really they just need a quarterback. They're the definition of Like, I don't feel like they're just spending just to spend. I think they have an actual plan. There's a team later on that we're going to talk about that I think is just spending just to spend. And I don't think that's the Raiders here.
Yeah. So John Spytek is their GM now. He came from the Buccaneers. And so you think about all the cool moves that the Buccaneers did with Tom Brady and all that, winning championships. He was behind that. He was assistant GM. So he was second to those things. And so to see him make these moves so quickly, I love to see it, especially my dad's a Raiders fan, like I mentioned. And he's like, thank God we got some guys that can make some plays. So Clint Kubiak's now their new head coach coming from Seattle. So just go ahead and change that whole Raider thing up a little bit. You have a great stadium, but not great culture. So hopefully Clint Kubiak can season some of that championship culture in there. And then John Spytek coming in from the Buccaneers, also championship culture. You got Tom Brady, who is partial owner. And I'm sure he said, hey, we're putting a lot of money into Fernando Mendoza. What's the best way to protect him? What's the best way for him to adapt to the game? Let's get Tyler Linderbaum, right? Tyler Linderbaum also blocked for an MVP, 2-time MVP, probably should have been 3-time MVP in Lamar Jackson. So you get a guy that knows the offense, that can make plays and make calls and make things easier for Fernando Mendoza. And then you look on the other side of that, the flip side for Max Crosby. Okay, is Max going to be healthy? We're not sure, but we're going to get Kwity Paye, who's been at the Colts, who's been in some other places, and can make plays. And then let's get 2 guys behind him that we know can ball. Max Crosby or not, we know that Kobe Dean, he's played on the Eagles. We know he can get the football for us. And then Quay Walker, another UGA guy. They have that synergy there. He's coming from the Packers, and they're coming from from teams with great rapport. So I like it. They're bringing championship caliber to this team. And then, let's not forget that Quay Walker and Kobe Dean, they're both part of UGA's teams that won championships. So they're bringing new energy in, Jake, and I love to see it.
Next team is the Chiefs. I'm not really sure what they're doing. I think signing Kenneth Walker, it makes sense, but that's a lot of money to sign him to. I like the pickup of Alohi Gilman. I don't understand the pickup of Kyrus Tonga. Re-signing Travis Kelce, Tyquan Thornton. I mean, I get it, but I also think that's a lot of money. And then you trade away Trent McDuffie, and then you don't sign Jalen Watson. You don't sign Leo Chenal. I'm at a loss for words here because you let, I think, 3 of the best, and you don't sign Brian Cook. So you let your 4 best defensive free agents leave so you could bring in Kyrus Tonga and Alohi Gilman and Kenneth Walker. I don't see how that makes the Chiefs a better football team than they were the previous day.
Yeah, I see them going in the draft and getting some defensive guys. Jake, I mean, you let go of 2 of your cornerbacks. You send them over to the Rams. Like, what's going on here? But I think they're trying to change things around. Jake, I think winning championships was great, right? They had a nice run, and they've been on a low for the past 2 years. So I think they need another resurgence, rebuilding, as you say. They do have Eric Bieniemy back as the offensive coordinator, so I'm interested to see how that is. He's a former running back, and so Kenneth Walker, I think, will benefit from him being there. And to be honest, Jake, outside of the Max Crosby possibly going to the Ravens, the Kenneth Walker move for me was amazing. I mean, the rich get richer, and I think them changing, I would say, their makeup, because Isaiah Pacheco ran the ball decently at a good clip. He's a champion. He ran at a good clip, Jake, but to have an MVP of the Super Bowl pull up with Patrick Mahomes, like, that's a problem, brother. That's a problem. People are going to have the game plan big time. They're like, hey, Patrick Mahomes is going to throw open Travis Kelce. He's going to get the ball down the field. Oh, and then, by the way, we got a guy that's going to run down our necks for probably 100 yards per game. So I like the combination, respectfully. I like it.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I think Kenneth Walker's great, but I also think he's getting a little overrated from the Super Bowl. That's all. But the Chargers, they go out. They signed Tyler Biadasz, who was cut by the Commanders. They signed Cole Strange. They signed Charlie Kohler. Love that pickup, by the way. Really underrated tight end. They signed Alec Ingold, the fullback. They re-signed Khalil Mack and Tyler Tart. They haven't done anything crazy, but they did lose Odafe away, which that's a significant loss. But I kind of like the Chargers offseason. I mean, what was the biggest thing with watching their offensive line. It was that it wasn't very good, right? So they go out and they get
Yes.
Tyler Biotish. They go out and they get Cole Strange. That's going to help them. And oh, by the way, you need help blocking. Charlie Kolar might be the best blocking tight end in football. So I
Yes.
like that. You kept Khalil Mack in LA. You kept Tyler Tart, who can really help against the run. I think it makes a lot of sense. I have no issue with what the Chargers did. I don't have too much to add after that because they probably still have other things that they need to do. But so far, so good for the LA Chargers.
Yeah, you think about the Chargers, and Slater went down, right? He got paid, and then he went down right after that. And then we looked at the season, we're like, oh man, the Chargers can be really good, but the quarterback's getting hit all day. And so you got a guy like Charlie Kolar who can help that edge out. It's right. You talk about helping the edge out, it's like a chip block before you go out for a pass, or you just have him as a glorified tight end. You can go goal line, big personnel, and then Justin Herbert can either run it in or he can throw it in. So Rondé Gatson is a great target for him as well. So I like the Charlie Kolar as the blocking tight end, and then Rondé Gatson as a receiving tight end. I like their moves, and they're firming up what they needed to, which is that offensive line, like you said earlier. And then Khalil Mack, bro. I mean, the man looks like Superman. So, him holding down that edge is outstanding.
And we'll see if they bring back Keenan Allen. I still think that's a possibility. But moving on to the Broncos, they did re-sign J.K. Dobbins. I wasn't sure what that was going to work, but J.K. Dobbins, despite the injury history, he got paid. And then you have Alex Singleton, and he comes back, and Justin Sternad, and he comes back, right? And then they also bring back Adam Troutman. The Broncos are in this mode where we're just going to run it back. We're going to bring back the guys. We believe we have a team that can win the Super Bowl. They're not doing anything too crazy right now. Give it some time. They did lose John Franklin Myers. I think that was a significant loss for them, and he got paid by the Titans. I was not expecting that. Very good player. I just wasn't expecting how much money he made. But the Broncos, I don't think are done. I've heard there's a chance that they trade Riley Moss, the cornerback. They could be active during the draft. Also, keep in mind, this is not even the first wave of free agency is over, Cam. Like, the first week is the first wave of free agency. Today is the first day of the NFL season. Like, the new year just started. So there's a lot more that can go on for the Denver Broncos. But right now, just stay in the course. You were in the AFC Championship game, and really you lost because you didn't have Bo Nix.
To that point, gotta get a quarterback, Jake. Got it. Jared Stidham, love the guy, but you got to get a strong backup veteran quarterback that can go and win football games. So I know you said for Kirk Cousins, follow the horns, but if I'm any of these teams, I'm getting me, or you talk about Tyrod Taylor, get a guy that can go win you some games because. Or
Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, baby. Let's do it. Let's see. You paid $89 million to basically have Russell Wilson not play for your football team. That'd be the funniest thing ever if the Broncos were like, you know what, Russ, we're sorry. I know that was really offensive. We'll bring you in as a backup. I don't think he would ever come back there. I
don't think so either, Jake. Russ, I'm sure he's sometimes you got to just stick to your pride, and I just don't know. I know he had that slogan, "Let's ride" or whatever that was, but the Broncos, I think he just lays that flat down and moves on. But bro, the Broncos getting a quarterback, they faced the Patriots, and then J.K. Dobbins is. I mean, they had a lot go on, but. Get a backup quarterback that can win you some football games. Hell, get Joe Flacco, whatever it is, brother. There's a long list of guys you can get, but get a veteran in there that can win you games. I think that's the quote of the year. And Joe Flacco is like the poster child. Get you a backup that can win you games.
Yeah, I agree with that. If I was Denver, based on what we've seen from Bo Nix and how he plays the game of football, okay, I would get Tyrod Taylor. I think Tyrod Taylor fits. Like, you don't have to change up your offense too much for what you're doing there. Maybe Joe Flacco. I don't know if Kirk Cousins is a fit. I mean, I guess he could be. But I think at this point, Cousins doesn't want to play in like a cold weather environment. I mean, I think that's really another reason why he went to Atlanta. It's why he went to the Vikings inside of that new stadium. I don't think he wants to play in a cold weather environment. I mean, he was in Washington. I think that was part of it. So, I mean, I guess we'll see. But that said, we move on to the Horns. The Los Angeles Rams in the NFC West. So they end up going out and acquiring Trent McDuffie for 4 draft picks, including a first, their 29th overall, and a third rounder in 2027. They also signed his running mate, Jalen Watson. They re-signed Cameron Curl. They re-signed Tyler Higbee. They signed a long snapper. It's not going to be Jake McQuaid this year, so that means no more St. Louis Rams are remaining in the Los Angeles Rams organization, which is a bummer. But they did sign Joe Cardona, who was with the current special teams coach. Yeah, military guy, highly respected, was with Bubba Ventrone back with the Patriots when he was an assistant special teams coordinator. So now he joins Ventrone. So far, so good. The Rams have done a really nice job this offseason. I think there are going to be a lot of fans that are clamoring for them to do more, and they probably will do more. But I have it on good authority. The Rams were interested in adding a receiver. They saw the market, and they're like, yeah, we're going to wait a little bit because it was getting a little outrageous. And I think the Jalen Watson move is such a savvy move because for those that don't realize, they went out and they identified that cornerback was their biggest issue. It's what held them back from winning the Super Bowl. And they got 2 guys that have literally started in 3 Super Bowl games. Okay. So they have that experience. They have guys that'll tackle. McDuffie tackles. Jalen Watson is one of the best tackling corners. And guys that can play zone, but also thrive in man coverage, which gives Chris Shula more things that he can do in that bag where he can play more man coverage. And you also brought back Cam Curl. And I think if you're going to play more more man coverage, then Cam Curl's value skyrockets as well. And you brought back Tyler Higbee, and that tells me they're going to run 13 personnel at the same or maybe even a higher clip this year. So Rams so far so good, and they're not done, and they still have a 13th overall pick, their second rounder and their third rounder, and they didn't have a lot of moves they had to make. So they're in a really good position right now, in my opinion. And I do expect they're going to get a backup quarterback. If that's Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't be surprised. Right now, that would be my leader in the clubhouse. But, look out for Russell Wilson. Look out. Does Jimmy Garoppolo come back? Right now, my money's on Kirk Cousins.
I'm not going to lie, Jake. The way that Matthew Stafford played football last year at the MVP caliber, if it's not broke, don't fix it, brother. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Keep it how things are. I know with Mike LaFleur going over to the Cardinals, I know that's unfortunate, but you got Nate Shieldhouse that's stepping in and doing this thing. Second to that, you mentioned the cornerback position, the reason why the Rams did not go to the Super Bowl last year. I would add to this too, special teams, right? Bubba Ventrone coming in to change things around. Joe Cardona, who was at the Patriots. He's also in the military actively to this day. So everything that's going on around the world, he can bring some calmness, I would say, to that Rams organization. So I love those 2 moves. I think we need another person that can return the football, Jake, right? Xavier Smith, love the guy, but I need someone who can return the football, right? You like Rashid Shaheed, that move that they made the Seahawks. We need somebody like that can step in and make plays. So in the draft, I think we go get a receiver. Go later in the rounds if you need to, but go ahead and get a receiver that can return kicks, return punts, and score freaking touchdowns when they need them. And so I think that's huge. And then you also mentioned Higbee getting re-signed. He's the last of the guard, brother. And so Tyler Higbee going, I think it's into his 10th year. Kobe Parkinson really backing him up, Jake. And to be honest, I thought he was gone. I thought Kobe Parkinson was going to take that tight end number 1 role. But I like how Sean McVay's keeping those guys rocking and rolling with that 13 personnel. And like I mentioned, Rams, I think, won the NFL free agency. They won it, I think, straight out. They're addressing the issues that they need. And they're like, hey, we need to get serious. We need to be able to lock in and stop JSN. And we need to be able to stop guys that can catch the football over us. So I love what they did in this offseason.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, again, people want to have their team make a lot of moves, and I understand that. But you have to understand the gravity of the situation here. They literally – I'm not as high on Trent McDuffie as everybody else, but I still understand, the move and everything. They went out and they got an all-pro Trent McDuffie. They went out and got 2 corners to fix their cornerback issue. 2 guys that can play man coverage, that can tackle, that have that quick downhill trigger, but also started in 3 Super Bowls and won 2 of them. In a lot of ways, they didn't have a lot of needs. This, in my opinion, was the best team on paper going into last year, and they are the best team yet again on paper going into this year. They did not have a lot of needs. My biggest thing is I want to see them add a successful, heavily experienced veteran quarterback behind Stafford. I want them to add a trustworthy wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
And I would like to see them
use Tutu out well. I mean, come on.
He's a free agent. Although I heard that they could bring him back, which at this point, I don't know why they don't use him. Right. And I'd like to see them go out and get a coverage linebacker. Like, I'd like to see them go out and get a really good coverage linebacker, and I don't think they're going to do that. But those are the only things that I would really be like, I really want them to do.
And get a guy that can return the football, brother, score on special teams.
That's true. And it's not even about scoring on special teams. It's about forcing teams to kick outside the end zone and get to that 35-yard line. Because I'm getting the 35-yard line. I have the most efficient running back room in the league. I have MVP quarterback Matthew Stafford. I have Devontae Adams. I have Puka Nacua. I have a tight end room that just had 19 total touchdowns out of 13 personnel. And I have a top 10 offensive line. So if you get me to the 35-yard line, I can score over 30 a game, and I'm in a really good position. And now late in games, in those close games that got closer than maybe they should have been, I could just play man coverage. I could just say, you know what, McDuffie, Watson, handle it, right?
Go get them.
Quentin Lake is there, Cam Curl, Cam Kinchins. You got Jalen McCullough on those dime packages. You also, of course,
Nate
have,
Lemon.
Forbes, right?
Yep.
I really would like to. Well, I like Forbes. I just don't want Forbes starting right now. But Forbes is a rotational piece. I don't mind that,
I like that.
I want to see them go out and bring back McCreary. That's what I personally want. And I want them to sign Juwan Jennings, because I think Juwan Jennings is the perfect fit for wide receiver 3 for the Rams currently as it stands right now. So I don't know what they're going to do as far as that goes, but so far, so good. The Rams have had a really good offseason, and they didn't have that much, to really focus on. Now, keep in mind, the McDuffie deal came with an extension, okay? So there might be a player that they initially intended on extending long-term that they no longer do. So that's something to keep in mind. They chose McDuffie as one of the cornerstone pieces to the future. Cam, that's a large chunk of change. We're talking 4 years, $124 million, and $100 million of that is guaranteed.
Yeah. Get the ball back to Matthew Stafford, brother, as best as you can. You got guys on the ends that can go rush the quarterback. Get Matthew the ball back. Get the offense the ball back. Like you said, on special teams, get great field position, go score 30 points, stop them from scoring points, and you win. You get to the playoffs, you get to the championship, and you're singing. You have another chip before Matthew Stafford retires. So, like I said, I know we're a little bit biased, but my favorite offseason for the Rams so far.
Yeah, I like it a lot so far. I mean, I think my favorite offseason was when they got Matthew Stafford, because I knew right then and there they were going to win the Super Bowl. That was the missing piece. Now, interestingly enough, the Seattle Seahawks, okay? We saw the Rams win the Super Bowl, and they let a lot of guys go, right? They didn't just run it back. Like, they lost Von Miller, all that. Seattle, they're bringing back guys. Like, they're bringing back Job. They brought back Shaheed. They brought back Drake Thomas. Josh Jones just agreed to a deal with them. They also let other guys go. They let Tariq Woolen go to the Eagles. They let Kobe Bryant go to the Bears, right? So they're letting other guys go. Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs. I'm sure there are other names I'm forgetting right now, but I thought the Seahawks had a methodical approach to this.
Was it Tariq Woolen they let go to the Bears? Maybe.
No. Woolen went to the Eagles, is what I was saying.
To the Eagles. Yeah.
Bryant went to the Bears, but
that's right.
I guess what I'm saying here is I think Seattle to this point has done it the right way. You win a Super Bowl, you have to unfortunately say goodbye. You can't sign everybody. You have to say goodbye to some guys, and they have identified that Josh Jobe was somebody that they just couldn't part with. They identified that Rashid Shaheed was somebody they just couldn't part with, and Drake Thomas, they got on an absolute steal of a deal. I don't know why on earth his agent agreed to that deal. That was a stupid contract. Really good player signing on the cheap, and then Josh Jones comes back. Now, partly, I think Josh Jobe was incredibly undervalued based on that deal, but it's a sign that maybe Josh Jobe was willing to take less to just stay with Seattle. And that's what happens when you build that culture, you build that winning environment, you win a Super Bowl, and those guys do want to stick around. And some of them don't. Some of them are just going to be the highest paid, but some, they want to stick around. And even though free agency happens, they'll test the market. It sounds like they're gone. Testing the market in 2026 isn't the same as it was in 2000. When players tested the market in 2000, they were gone. When players tested the market in 2010, they were gone. 2026, there's a lot of guys that are returning after testing the market.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jake, and I will say this too. We talk about testing the market. I think one thing, the biggest issue for the Seahawks this year is their running game. Zach Charbonnet, he's a good back, but that's where they're going to struggle. I think getting rid of Kenneth Walker, I think that was a major mistake, brother. I know he wants more money. I know their GM, when they did their championship parade, he was like, yeah, Kenneth Walker tried to negotiate with me like while I was drinking. He's like, that was weird, and like embarrassed him on national TV. And so, to be honest, I think that was their big mistake. And then also Clint Kubiak leaving and going to the Raiders. So they now have Brian Fleury, who's the 49ers tight end coach. All right. So he has that Shanahan tree. He kind of knows how to make that offense successful. But I don't think the Seahawks will be the same team as they were last year. They have the same pieces, right? The same foundation, but their running game really got them over the edge. And the other thing, though, I will say, Rashid Shaheed, them re-signing him was gold. He was the X factor for them. I think he was that person that got them over the hump, especially versus the Rams. I mean, punt returns versus the Rams, all types of things, flipping field position. So, but I do think them leaving Kenneth Walker and trading him to the Chiefs, big mistake, brother.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not as in that camp as you, because sometimes, I mean, especially there's a tax you're gonna have to pay when you win a Super Bowl. Those guys are gonna get overpaid. I think that's too much for Kenneth Walker, especially when they run a two-back set. They're not really focused so much on one guy. I think the Chiefs would be more focused on one guy than the Seahawks, to be honest with you. The thing about Charbonnet is that he suffered a major injury at the end of the year, so that's interesting. I thought for sure they were going to go and get Algier. Everyone did. And Algier ends up with, now we're going to talk about the Cardinals. So I think they're going to get somebody. I think there's a lot of talent in that running back, that running back pool in free agency. Yeah. So I'm not too worried about it.
What I will say, though, Jake, Seahawks, they messed up with Marshawn Lynch. They threw it on the goal line instead of running with him. They give up Kenneth Walker. I mean, how many times can you mess up the running back situation, brother? But hey, that's neither here nor there. We're Rams guys, so it's better for the Rams.
Maybe they're going to get Alvin Kamara, right? I mean, maybe they're looking at something else. So
that's real. That's real.
Joe Mixon's available. See, I would rather go out and get Joe Mixon on the cheap after he didn't play at all last year, or get Alvin Kamara, on a cheaper deal than pay absolute maximum top dollar to Kenneth Walker, just because I just don't think that's the best move. I mean,
the MVP, brother.
But again, like Malcolm Smith was the MVP. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to pay Malcolm Smith $100 million deal. Like he had a really good game, and obviously we know Kenneth Walker's better than that. I've been saying he's better than Charbonnet. It's not remotely close forever, but. Yeah. The thing about Kenneth Walker is that he's not a great pass protector, and it does put you in harm's way, especially in some of these offenses that really rely on that. It's like, if I'm going to pay you all that money and you can't protect the quarterback, I can't keep you on the field all the time, right? So that's something to keep in mind. I think there are options out there. Like I mentioned, Joe Mixon, like I mentioned, potentially trading for Alvin Kamara. I'm not saying there are a ton, but I'm curious. Like Chris Rodriguez Jr., was just he was not tendered. They let him go. The Commanders. He signs immediately with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Emmanuel Wilson. What does that look like with the Packers? Do they bring him back? Right. Then you have Brian Robinson Jr. is a free agent. I think Brian Robinson Jr. is the guy that they're probably going to go after. Like right off the bat. Like looking at who's available, I think Brian Robinson Jr. makes a lot of sense. Rashad White makes a lot of sense. So there are definitely some options there. I'm not saying that they're the best ever. I'm not. Najee Harris is still out there.
I like Alvin Kamara. At one point, Jake, he was scoring 5 touchdowns in one game, brother. I know he's been hurt. He has a lull these past few years, but go ahead and get Alvin. Go ahead and get him right. You know what I mean? And Get him out on the. I mean, the other thing too, when it comes to pass pro for Alvin, he's more of a pass catcher than a pass pro. So get him in the slot, get him 1-on-1 with some of these linebackers and safeties, and make him and let him do his thing. But
I think it's Brian Robinson Jr. I think they know.
That's a good fit. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, he was there last year in San Francisco with Christian McCaffrey. I think it makes sense. So the Cardinals, we got Isaac Sumalo, who we were just talking about the Steelers earlier. Sumalo goes over to the Cardinals. Really good, beefy signing there for that offensive line depth. You go out, speaking of beefy, you go out, you get Tyler Algier. This dude is going to bounce off everybody. He is a hard-nosed running back. They also brought back James Conner. I was a little surprised by that. It's good. He's a leader. Having him and Algier, it's interesting.
Tough.
They're kind of similar, but doesn't mean they can't hurt the same way with other teams.
Yes.
Roy Lopez adds some depth to the defensive line. That's not really that's the nothing burger for me. That's not something like, oh, Roy Lopez. But Kendrick Bourne is a really underrated signing. I think people they look at Kendrick Bourne like, yeah, he's just a guy. I don't really see him as that way. I think Kendrick Bourne can really help solidify this wide receiver room. Like, you have Marvin Harrison Jr., you have you have Trey McBride as your tight end. And then on top of that, Michael Wilson, we just talked about. So you add another guy who can block at a high level, who's big, who can make plays after the catch, and that's Kendrick Bourne. Love that pickup. Gardner Minshew is going to battle out Jacoby Brissett for the starting quarterback job. There apparently was a deal that was about to go in place with Jimmy Garoppolo. They hit a snag, and so they moved on with Gardner Minshew. And they added they added Matt Pryor to help their offensive line depth. So the Cardinals are having one of those off seasons. Like, they took a lot of dead money on with Kyler Murray. They're ripping the Band-Aid off. They're not just like, okay, we're going to put another Band-Aid on there. No. They're going to let this thing play out. And I think it's smart. And I have no issue with what the Cardinals did. They have to understand you're trying to set a foundation. You're not a team that's going to go and win the Super Bowl this year. And that is totally fine. But you want to set the foundation in your first year with your first year head coach in Mike LaFleur. And I think these signings are going to help you do that.
Yeah, and Jake, they got Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator. He was my offensive coordinator when I was at Syracuse. So Nathaniel Hackett had the head coach job at the Jets. Didn't go great. I know we talk about him and Sean Payton, how Sean Payton was talking mess about him when he started with the Broncos. We did not like that. So hopefully Nathaniel Hackett can get a rerun at this, right? You talk about James Conner in the backfield, Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier, I think he is used to playing behind a great running back like Bijan Robinson. So you get James Conner to start things off, and they get Algier in there to make things happen. My question, Jake, is we like Jacoby Brissett. He threw the ball well last year, and we talked about that. Him and Gardner Minshew, I need a guy, Jake, that can go win football games, like actually win multiple of them. And I'm not sure if they can get that done. And so do they go get a quarterback in the draft? They got Michael LaFleur there, and hopefully the Rams kick his ass each year, even though he knows the Rams inside and out. But they kick his ass each year because he went to a division rival. Not really rival, but, it's division competition. So, but those are my questions. Who's your quarterback going to be? And then can Nathaniel Hackett, can he redeem himself, brother? Because I'm hoping so. I'm rooting for the guy, but dang it.
I mean, this is why I would have probably just stuck with Kyler Murray, if you ask me. But I get why, they just don't view him as a fit, and that's fine. They're going to move off him. That's a smart move. They're not going to go too crazy with it. I think it's definitely a smart move. I had no issue with what the Cardinals did. I think they just wanted to, maintain the fact that, look, they have a decent roster. They still have guys on this roster. I mean, there are some teams that would kill to have a Trey McBride and Michael Wilson combo. And oh, by the way, they still have Marvin Harrison Jr., who I am not out on. I know there are a lot of people that are like, he's a bust, whatever. I think it's way too soon. And also, I saw a graphic not that long ago where his numbers almost stack up identically to his father. And his father ended up being a Hall of Famer. So it's way too early. Yeah. That Marvin Harrison guy. Yeah. But, it's way too early. Right now, I think you look at the Cardinals, you got Minshew, Brissett, you got James Conner, you got Tyler Algier, Trey Benson, Bam Knight. If Bam Knight comes back, I don't know.
That's a nice group, Jake. That's a nice.
Then you got Marvin Harrison Jr. Then you got Michael Wilson. Then you got Kendrick Bourne. Then you got Trey McBride. Your offensive line now looks pretty decent. The right tackle spot needs to be shored up because you have Paris Johnson Jr., you have Isaac Sumalo, you have Hjalte Froholt, their center, you have Isaiah Adams at right guard. You need somebody there at right tackle. Josh Fryer, Christian Jones are the guys there. But the defensive line, like you have Roy Lopez now, you added with Walter Nolan, with LJ Collier. You got Josh Sweat, who's a closer. You got Darius Robinson, Cody Simon,
Josh
Mac
Sweat.
Wilson, Zaven Collins, Will Johnson, Denzel Burke, Garrett Williams, Buda Baker, Dadrian Taylor Demerson. They just added Andrew Wingard as well from the Jaguars. I actually like what they're doing. They're going to be a competitive team that can probably be in most games, like we saw with the Jeff Fisher era Rams, going back to early on Jeff Fisher to the last year of Jeff Fisher, as you know. But I mean, competitive fight to the end.
Just don't mess it up. I'm just looking at Nathaniel Hackett. Just don't mess it up, brother. You got all these weapons. Just don't fudge it up.
It is a lot of weapons. Pretty underrated. San Francisco made a trade either during our show or right before it. So I want to add this. We're going to talk about the Niners now. They haven't done a ton, but they did just add Mike Evans, as we know. Mike Evans will go with Ricky Pearsall as the 1-2 punch there. They are going to be releasing Brandon Ayuk officially. They signed Vidarian Lau. Is he going to be the starting left tackle? Probably not. I think they're going to get Trent Williams back from how it sounds.
They got to.
They just made an interesting move to go and acquire Osa Odigizua from the Cowboys. Now, this is fascinating because he's a really good player, and I'm a little surprised that they were able to move on from him. Odigizua, by the way, 9th, in interior defensive line win rate in pass rush, and he was 11th in pressures with 52 this past year. To me, this works well because you have guys like Alfred Collins, and I think the thing with Alfred Collins and CJ West, who they added in the draft, is that those are like run defender guys. But now you have Oso Odigizua who can rush the passer. And the big thing that we were talking about the Niners is they have no pass rush, man. They have no pass rush. So now Bosa will be back and Fred Warner will be back for next season. Now you had Oso Odigizua. I like what the 49ers
Raheem Morris is their defensive coordinator. So that's a win-win right there. You're looking dangerous still. The 49ers and putting Mike Evans there, Jake, at that wide receiver position to hopefully help out George Kittle. I know George Kittle's been injured here and there, but that's a dangerous matchup, brother. And don't forget Christian McCaffrey's back there. So if they bring back Trent, I think they're in the running for that NFC West, and it's going to be dangerous. And I think they surpass the Seahawks. I think the Rams take number 1. I think 49ers take number 2, Seahawks number 3, and Cardinals number 4 in the NFC West. I'm calling it now.
Okay, I see you.
Yeah,
well, let's
because
go
of that
on
one game.
to
That's the Seattle run game.
Yeah, well, that I think they'll repair it by the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the Niners getting Mike Evans makes a lot of sense. You have a quarterback that's not pinpoint accurate, but he's generally accurate. So to have a giant catch radius there for Mike Evans, I'm also not of the belief, like a lot of people, Mike Evans is washed. I think Mike Evans' first year, he deserves some grace. The fact that his first year where he breaks the 11 straight 1,000-yard season streak and he finally, starts getting hurt. It's like maybe it was just like an unfair season for him. Maybe it just, wasn't his year. Like it doesn't mean that he's just hitting a wall. And by the way, I have information to back this up because I love my information.
Yeah.
Number 1 in separation score was, according to fantasy points data, was Devontae Adams. Okay. Yeah. So for anybody that thinks he is washed, they're wrong. Number 2 was Mike Evans. Yeah. Mike Evans was the second best separator, according to fantasy points data, in the NFL. That's not washed.
Jake, I'm in Tampa now. I play with Mike Evans. He's a baller, brother. I mean, you throw the ball up, he's going to get it. Those hamstrings are a little bit torched right now because it's hot out here. It's like tires, right? Like on a F1 car. They just constantly roll. And after a while, they give out. So get those legs healthy. my other thing, though, too, Jake, right? We talked about the electromagnetic waves that are going down in the 49ers stadium. Hopefully that doesn't affect them, right, and increasing his injury rate. But Mike Evans is going to be a freaking problem at the 49ers. Mark my words. And thank God the Rams have cornerbacks to slow him down, not to stop him, but to slow him down, because he's going to cause some problems in the NFC West.
Yeah, well, we're gonna find out, man. The electrical substation, man. People are gonna start saying, "Where's the tinfoil hat?" You know how things go. But I'm not saying you're wrong there. It's some interesting stuff. But we move on to the AFC South, and the Titans 3-14 this past year. They end up hiring 2 head coaches to their staff, one to be a head coach, in Robert Saleh, but the other one is Brian Daboll as their offensive coordinator.
They need the help, Jake. They need all the help they can get.
It's really fascinating what the Titans did, because I liked some of it, but I hated most of it. Because what I was saying about the Raiders is that they were signing guys I felt like they had a plan for. Dude, the Titans looked like they were just signing guys to sign guys. I mean, I love the John Franklin Myers pickup. I think he's a stellar player. The money is a lot. Alontae Taylor is a terrible move. It's terrible. He gave up 8 touchdowns last year, had a 100-plus target passer rating. The film was not great, and now you're giving him $20 million a year. Cordell Flott, I like him, but I feel like this is too much like, oh, well, we're just going to get all these giants. Here's the problem when you do the whole cast-off approach, because I think Cordell Flott's a good player, but he can't stop the run. Like he's kind of a smaller corner. He's not a great run defender, not a great tackler. When you just willy-nilly go and you're like, well, I was on the Giants last year, let's just get all these Giants free agents, right? Well, the problem is you're getting all these free agents from a team that wasn't that great last year, So I didn't have an issue with them getting Wan'Dale Robinson. I thought they actually got him under the value that I expected him to get. That was another worst-kept secret in the league. My favorite signing for them was Daniel Bellinger, because I think Daniel Bellinger was stuck in New York. They kept going out and getting more tight ends, and I think they had something in him coming out of San Diego State. Really good athlete, and he's a really good blocker. And I think if anything comes of this, Daniel Bellinger stock way up in Tennessee. Like I'm really high on him. I like the Joshua Williams pickup. But aside from that, I mean, some of these were, I don't know. I just felt like they were spending just to spend. And I know they're going to say otherwise. And I'm not going to sit here and say like the Titans didn't have a plan, but maybe I just don't think their plan is that great.
Yeah, well, Robert Saleh, we talk about his defensive profile. It's excellent wherever he goes. Cam Ward needs all the support that he can get. And so I think what's important is having great backups, right? What does your backup look like? How can you get things done? And if I'm not wrong, they signed Mitchell Trubisky for the Tennessee Titans.
They did.
They did. Okay. So you look at the Matthew Stafford season that he had, MVP season. I think it's because he had a great backup quarterback in Jimmy G to be like, hey, I saw this, you saw that. How can we get better? What does that look like? Mitch Trubisky went to the Pro Bowl in 2018. So when he was with the Bears, that was a shit show, excuse my language, but he went to the Bills and then he went to the Steelers. And then back to the Bills. And so if you think about some of those teams, the Bills have Josh Allen, and then the Steelers had Aaron Rodgers then. I don't think they had Aaron Rodgers then, but long story short, he played behind Josh Allen, and he learned from Josh Allen that he can bring that sauce over to Cam Ward. Cam Ward needs it. And I think when it comes to adversity, Mitchell Trubisky's seen it. He's seen it all. He's done it all. And for a guy like Cam Ward, he's going to have it's going to be a long year for him, right? Just call a spade a spade. It's going to be a long year. So to have a guy behind you that can give you confidence, I think that's really important. So that's my favorite signing, to give Cam Ward the love that he needs. I think every show, Jake, we talk about it. Tennessee Titans lose it again, but I like that guy Cam Ward. He can throw it all over the field, and so
every show,
every show. And so Mitchell Trubisky, I think him being there is going to really help him mentally, not just on the field because he can make every throw that you can think of, but just mentally. Oh yeah, Mitchell Trubisky, first round, second overall pick, right? Like He's been there, done that. Cam Ward is going to have, I want to say a similar trajectory, but he needs someone who can coach him through on what not to do. And I think Trubisky can do that.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely fair. And then, now because we still have so many teams to get through, let's condense this thing a little bit. Yeah. We've been given this like 5-star review level of analysis for these teams, and some of them didn't do anything. But the Texans did, and they did acquire David Montgomery via trade. They extended Danielle Hunter. They signed Ed Ingram. They signed Reed Blankenship, Braden Smith. I love the Braden Smith signing. Logan Hall from Tampa. They re-signed Dalton Schultz, linebacker EJ Speed, and Sheldon Rankins.
Nice.
Yeah, I like what they did. I don't love what they did. There were some things I didn't love. I didn't love that they just traded away a totally capable offensive tackle they were talking about earlier, right? In Titus Howard. I did not understand that. But then again, the Texans just love trading away their offensive linemen. No idea why.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts real quick on the Texans? Because I think that they got better in some cases. Braden Smith's a great pickup. I'm not a huge Ed Ingram guy, but I think the Braden Smith move is a really good move, and obviously getting David Montgomery. But what say you?
Yes. Two things. One on defense. EJ Speed. He played with Zaire Franklin on the Colts. Monster defense. Those guys played really good ball. Reed Blankenship. I love that trade as well. I mean, championship caliber, right? You bring that championship caliber over to the Texans. I think that's important. The Texans really shit the bed last year. Is keeping it stacked. So that's going to the offensive side. CJ Stroud giving up the football, brother, like it was no one's business. I mean, he just handing it out. You get one, you get one. So get David Montgomery back there to run the football to help you out a little bit. And then you can win playoff games. But it was just unfortunate to see what CJ Stroud went through last year. So to get a guy like David Montgomery to help him out, I love that move. I love it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then looking at the Colts, they re-signed Alec Pierce. I'd push back on people saying that was an overpay. I think Pierce is going to be that good. I think it made a lot of sense. They also re-signed Daniel Jones. That might have been an overpay. I'm a little concerned by the injuries there. They signed Arden Key. They signed Michael Clemens. They traded Zaire Franklin away for Colby Wooden. And they signed Derek Nottie almost like just 5 minutes ago. So I figured I'd add it to our whole list here.
Yeah. I think for that, the Colts, they traded away some key pieces, Jake. I think they traded away some key pieces.
And they traded away Pittman too, yeah.
Pittman Jr., I think that's going to hurt them. Trade away Michael Pittman Jr., but Alex Pierce, great guy. They got a great young tight end as well over there at the Colts. But I think trading away Zaire Franklin, EJ Speed, getting rid of him, I think the Colts lost out on some of this NFL free agency.
Yeah. I mean, you could very well make that argument. I didn't love the free agency. I like that they got Pierce back. Didn't love that they had to trade away Pittman. Jaguars, kind of not really doing much. Monteric Brown, they re-signed. They brought in Quentin Morris, and they also just brought in Chris Rodriguez Jr. today after the Commanders did not tender him with a restricted free agent. I like the Chris Rodriguez Jr. move because they lost Travis Etienne. But I don't really love what the Jaguars did.
Devin Lloyd, like, are you dumb? Like,
yeah, like they let Devin Lloyd go. I don't know.
Like Brett James, I
didn't love it.
He scored touchdowns. He scored touchdowns on the defensive side of the football. When you're picking the ball off and you're running it back the other way against Patrick Mahomes, he did it twice in one game. He's like the defensive player of the week. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
So I think they took a step back, but what I will say is they draft pretty well. So I'm excited to see what they do there.
No, that's absolutely fair. And then we move on to the NFC South here. The Panthers, they make a huge addition here. I love this move. They were missing this last year. You saw it. They very well could have won that wild card game against the Rams if they had this type of player. Jalen Phillips, a true closer. They're giving him a huge 4-year, $120 million deal. That is a wide chunk of change, but
good for him.
Didn't have a closer, man. They were relying on DJ Wonham. Like, it wasn't like some guys that for other teams would view as like rotational pieces. Those were their main guys. Really what they were banking on was Derek Brown making a play from the interior. And I just
and
feel like they
when
need an
Brian Burns
edge
left,
closer.
it went downhill, brother. So I'm glad they brought Dylan Phillips back after getting hurt at the Dolphins, going to the Eagles. Like, he deserves his payday. Good for him.
Yeah, and they also added Devin Lloyd, who we were just talking about. They added a backup quarterback. You like backup quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett is joining the team. He has some experience, mobility, and he randomly plays pretty well in high-intensity clutch moments. It's one of the weirdest things with him because hasn't been a great career, but if you look, like, he's made some big-time throws in late in games. They also added Stone Forsythe and Luke Fortner. I thought the Panthers had a pretty good offseason to this point. I mean, to start free agency, you sign Jalen Phillips, you add Devin Lloyd. That's a 1-2 punch for your defense. And you already feel really good about the offense. You've already you gave up play calling. You know, if you are their head coach, who's Dave Canales, whose name was escaping me, and then I remembered it. Dave Canales gave up play calling. I give him a lot of respect for that. That's hard to do as an offensive-minded coach, but he gave up play calling. You already have what you like there. Jalen Coker obviously coming back, right? You have Tedero McMillan. You let Rico Dowdle go, but you have Chuba Hubbard, and you also have Travis Etienne's younger brother, Trevor Etienne, who I was very high on coming out of the draft. So I like what they did, man. They don't have like tons of needs, but I like that they brought back Phillips. They brought in Phillips and Lloyd. That's really going to help that defense.
Yeah, I think the Panthers win the NFC South again. I think they get to the playoffs again. This defense is looking really good, right? The Luke Kuechly defense, that DeMar, like that's the type of player you need in there, and I'm glad they did it. I think we talked about the Jags, we talked about the Colts, the Texans, these past couple teams, but the Panthers, they're going my top 10 of NFL offseason and the free agency. Good job by them.
And then the Saints, I got to give them a lot of credit. They're a team, by the way, I really like the Saints coming into the season. It's mainly because Tyler Shuck is really taking the next step, and I think Kellen Moore knows what he's doing. They added Noah Fant to give him a weapon. They added Travis Etienne to really give him a weapon.
That's a good move. They added
Caden Ellis, really underrated player at the linebacker spot. Really good coverage linebacker. Would have liked to see him with a certain team. And then David Edwards, okay? The former Buffalo Bill, former Ram, comes over. He's really made a name for himself. He got paid. Saints worked on building the offensive line, adding a running back that could really help them, adding a tight end that can help them to go with what they have. And now you add a really good coverage linebacker. The Saints were like my dark horse team coming into this season, and I have no reason to say that they're not still. They did lose Demario Davis. They could lose Cam Jordan. It seems like they will probably lose Cam Jordan. They lost Alontae Taylor, but I also don't feel like Alontae Taylor was that big of a loss. I don't know. The Saints still are that team that I'm not sleeping on at this point.
Yeah. I mean, the Buccaneers better not, because they lost to them towards the end of the season. It wasn't good. But Alvin Kamara, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him. That's the biggest question mark for me. And then for Tyler Shuck, who's going to back him up? Tyler Shuck, you should get Shuck tonight. You're right. You can do the song, you do everything you want for Tyler Shuck. He has swag. He's starting to figure it out, but he's a young guy. You need someone that's there that can back him up and win football games. Get a savvy veteran behind him that can get it done.
Yeah, I like that. And then we move on to the Bucs that you're just talking about. They lost some pieces, right?
It's not looking good, Jake. It's not looking good.
They did bring back Cade Otton. They signed Alex Anzalone, and they signed Kenneth Gainwell, who I think is going to pair really nicely, because they're going to lose Rashad White. And I just think that he pairs really nicely with Bucky Irving. So, yeah, it's not great because you lost Mike Evans, right? And you lost Jamel Dean, but based on what they added, I do like what they added. I don't love what they lost.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, thank God they have Levante David that's still there. Mike Evans is now gone, but Alex Anzalone, I love that pickup. He's going to be great out here in Tampa next to Levante David. Kenneth Gainwell, another back that can make moves in the backfield. I think I underestimated him when he was with the Steelers. I'm like, I don't know about this running back room. They're not good. They're not going to be good enough. But Kenneth Gainwell, man, he was leaping over people. He was doing good. So I like him for this Bucs team. But Mike Evans lost. Not looking good there, brother. I think when it comes to the Buccaneers, the head coach there, he might be on the hot seat for giving up Mike Evans. I think they're on the hot seat for giving up Mike because the Tampa Bay community did not like that, brother. They did not like that.
No, he does a lot in the community, so that makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's one of those guys, really good model citizen, and definitely one of your franchise cornerstones. You just hate to see him leave. But moving on to the Jets here, they did a hell of a whole lot. They brought back Geno Smith. They turned the clock back. If you were in a coma for the last 12 years and you just got out of it, Geno Smith is still your quarterback somehow. You're probably losing your mind.
And he got put in a coma by a linebacker because they got in a beef in the locker room. He got punched. So hopefully,
what was it, Ick Mbek Poly or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the pickup for the Jets personally. I think Geno's fine. I just don't really like the Jets. I don't like the direction. What are you trying to be? I mean, Aaron Glenn is your head football coach, which is already an issue then in and of itself. But like Minkah Fitzpatrick, you go out and you get right. You trade for him. You trade for Geno Smith. You add Joseph Asai. You add Demario Davis. You add David Onyemata, right? You add Kingsley Enagbare. You add Nashawn Wright. Great signing, by the way. Really underrated. And Dane Belton. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to win 8 games, 9 games? Like, are you trying to go to the playoffs? Are you trying? Like, it just feels to me like the Jets don't know what they're trying to be. Like, it's almost like this feels more like a GM trying to save his job. This feels more like, a head coach trying to save his job. I mean, David Onyemata should not be playing for the New York Jets this late in his career. He should be playing for a contender. Demario Davis definitely should be playing to try to win a Super Bowl ring right now. Like, you know what I mean?
It's a culture thing, Jake. I think we talk about with the Browns, they got to change that shit around. Demario Davis, one of the better leaders, I think, in football, especially on the defensive side. So you get him in the middle. I know Quincy left, but you get him in there to kind of change that stuff up. Minkah on the back end, and then David on the front line. So I think it's more of a leadership thing, and like, hey, we need guys in here that can straighten this stuff out. And I know with Breece Hall, they franchise tagged him. He wasn't happy about that. So we'll see. But I think at the end of the day, Aaron Glenn's a defensive guy. He needs guys that can be coaches on the field, and I think that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. Moving on to the Bills, we talked about I didn't like the DJ Moore trade at all. I liked it for the Bears. I didn't like it for the Bills. I also didn't like the signing of D. Alford. I don't think he's very good, and they gave him way too much money. They re-signed Connor McGovern. They re-signed Dawson Knox. They did just add Bradley Chubb, who I like, but again,
that's
way
a nice
too
move.
much money though. Like a lot of money for a guy who's had a lot of injury concerns.
But
Brandon
it's a
Beane
game
to
plan.
me is just proving he doesn't know how to do this free agency thing. He just
You're in
doesn't know
upstate
how
New
to
York.
do it.
Jake, you're in upstate New York, so you're close to the Bills Mafia. You're around that area. People were not happy that Brandon Beane stayed as the GM of the Bills. You said no. Yeah, people were upset about that.
They're over this dude.
Joe Brady was great though. I think we talked about this in a couple
the Joe
shows.
Brady hire. Yeah.
You mentioned Ben Johnson leaving the Lions. That should have been Dan Campbell leaving the Giants versus Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson had been elevated, and just like the Bills did. So I think they got that right, but the Brandon Beane part, I don't know if they got right. But I do like the Chubb move there, Brandon Chubb move there. I think I like it personally. I played against his brother in high school and in college and in the NFL too. Wow, we played against each other in multiple phases, but I like that for him to be on a possible championship team.
Yeah, I mean, I like Bradley Chubb. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that was a lot of money to pay to Bradley Chubb.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And then Bosa is Bosa still there, or is he not there anymore?
Bosa's a free agent.
Okay. Well, hey, if Bosa's gone, you got to get a guy that can go get that quarterback, brother.
His first year, I think I've ever seen Joey Bosa play every single game. I give him a lot of credit. He stayed healthy. He was consistent. It didn't look like it was going to be that type of season because Michael Hoyt went down early on and missed the entire year. Really bummer there. But I don't know what Brandon Beane is doing. I know there's some Bills fans that are like just happy. Oh, we finally got a receiver, but it's like, you know.
Then he blames Keon Coleman like on a national presser with the owner, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like,
this is not a good bad look. Ball. Not a good
it's
look.
Similar to the Ravens, similar to what Sean Payton did at the Broncos. Like those are moments that you'll remember. Like those aren't great people. Those weren't great statements that they made, and it's just bad business. So,
yeah, no, I didn't like what they did at all. I don't know, but
scapegoating, yeah, not good.
I never liked the whole scapegoating thing. I think it really it reflects poorly on others. But the Dolphins, they had an interesting looking free agency thus far. They signed their free agent quarterback Malik Willis, 3 years, $67.5 million. A decent chunk of change, but not as much as everybody presumed it was going to be. And it makes me wonder, did Willis sign too early? I feel like he was just in such a hurry to get that contract and get his home. I think he signed too early because I think that thing could have been pushed up more and more and more. After Kyler Murray signs, it creates a market. Now it's like, oh. And then like people are looking at the draft, people are looking at the free agency, and they're like, well, I don't want to go with 40 whatever year old Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to go with Joe Flacco. Like, who's my next best option? And it's like, do you want a reclamation project? Do you want a young guy that people are saying isn't a reclamation project and is already ready to be a starting quarterback? Do you want to go after Geno Smith? He, to me, signed way too early in this process.
Quick thing on that, Jake. He's in Florida. He sees all his money, right? We talked about he sees all the money.
Something to do with it.
Yeah, so he can go. He can wait and go sign somewhere else, but he has a chance to be a starting quarterback, and he can see all his money. I think that's a win-win. And to be honest, Malik Willis, I really think he's a backup, brother. Like, he's a great backup. So the fact that he can be a starter and make and see all that money because of taxes, do it. I jump at it, do it. It's life-changing money. No matter if it's 67,000, no matter if it's 67 million or 80 million, it doesn't matter. There's no state taxes. You're in Miami and you're the starting quarterback. So do your thing, brother.
It's interesting. They also added a few guys. They added Zane Anderson, special teamer. They added Alex Austin, special teamer from the Patriots. They added Darrell Baker Jr. and Lonnie Johnson Jr. to help the secondary. Josh Uche is the biggest one.
I like that. I like that too.
Malik Willis.
That's a good move.
This dude, all he does is just win in pass in pass rushing, and just for whatever reason, like, he can't catch on with a team. I don't really understand it. They don't really utilize him. Like, I know he might not be the best run defender, and I think that has something to do with it, but he's not bad enough to just not play him at all. They did trade away Minkah Fitzpatrick. They did cut Tyreek Hill. They did cut James Daniels. A little interesting stuff going on there, with the Dolphins. I mean, they
Jeff
have
Haley's
to fix everything
coach.
Chris Grier did wrong.
Yeah. They got a new head coach too, Jake. Jeff Halfley, coming from the Packers and the DC. Yeah, okay, there you go. The Packers guy, head coach at Boston College. And so I wonder if that was part of Malik Willis' thought process as well. I got a new head coach. I'm a first-time starter. Well, not a first-time starter, but I get to run this team with the coach that's new, and he believes in me, and they're going to pay me a good amount of money, and I'm in Miami. Why not?
Yeah, the Packers connection definitely helped.
There you go.
Tua Tagovailoa being gone. I don't even think we really... Did we skip over the Falcons entirely? I think we did. I was just thinking that.
We touched on it, though. We touched on the Falcons, though. We touched on Tua going there. We touched on Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier. We talked about some of the moves that they made there. Kevin Stefanski, though, we didn't talk about that, him being the head coach there, though.
That was a good move. Patriots. Romeo Doubs, fantastic pickup. Maybe more money than I would have expected, but fantastic pickup. He is going to be so good, in my opinion, with Drake May. Then they go out and they get Elijah Vera Tucker. AVT is a fantastic talent. You just can't stay healthy. If he stays healthy, they got themselves a baller there. They also got Draymond Jones, who was with the Ravens. That was a good move. Reggie Gilliam, one of the best special teamers. You'll love hearing this. One of the best special teamers in football. Fullback from the Bills. I wanted Gillian on my football team. He's a fun player to watch. And they also added Kevin Byard. I like what the Patriots have done. They haven't gone crazy.
They're just getting better. They're just getting better on the back end. I mean, you said Christian Gonzalez.
I still think they're going to end up with A.J. Brown, by the way.
I mean, they should, right? They got rid of Stephon Diggs, so they're trying to change that out. And then Kevin Byard, I mean, he's leading the league in interceptions, so he goes to a team that takes away the ball as well, like Carlton Davis. I mean, those guys, they balled out in the playoffs, and I like that. That's a dangerous defensive back room. I think the Seattle Seahawks, the Bears, and the Patriots. Those are the top three defensive back rooms that I thought of last year. And then of course now the Rams. Those are my top four now.
Yeah. I think that's definitely fair. I mean, I really like what the Patriots did. They didn't go too overblown here. They didn't, want to, we were just in the Super Bowl, let's overpay everybody. Like, they went out and they got guys that they felt like they really needed. And I like it so far. But we move on. Certainly not least, the NFC East. We'll just real quick say the Eagles haven't really done anything. They signed Tariq Woolen and Johnny Munt. They extended Jordan Davis. Yeah, I'm not a big Tariq Woolen fan. I think that the 22% missed tackle rate is very concerning. But with the Eagles, it makes sense. He was in a 3-man rotation, 4-man rotation with the Seahawks, was never really the number one guy this past year because you had Josh Jobe, you had Devin Witherspoon. But the Eagles have Quinion Mitchell and they have Cooper DeJean. He doesn't have to be the starter on the outside. So I think it does put a good position for him. The Eagles still could go after Max Crosby. I know they're one of the teams that were mentioned. They still could trade A.J. Brown. They lost Jahan Dotson to the Falcons. So I'd expect them to add a receiver at some point. That's what you get with the Eagles. What would you say about that before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Tariq Woolen trade. I mean, you're going from one championship team to the other. So we talk about the rich get richer. I like the move, even though you said he doesn't have to be number one. Jalen Phillips, I think he was a plus. I mean, they got some guys on that defensive line. Nakobe Dean, I think they're going to miss Nakobe. I mean, having that leadership in the middle, I think is really important, and then Reed Blankenship as well. So they got some guys on all levels that they have to figure out. But at the end of the day, Vic Fangio is a great defensive coordinator, so I think he'll make it happen.
No, I like that. Yeah, and I think so too. I mean, the Eagles don't need to add a ton. They didn't need to, they still have guys they need to replace, but they also draft very well. And I think that's something that needs to be, and also they value compensatory picks. That's, you know what I mean? If you go out and you trade for Max Crosby, guess how many compensatory picks that you're giving up? None. You're trading picks that you already, you're going to have to trade, but the compensatory pick formula it's not bothered by it. Also, if you wait for the next wave of free agency, you wait a certain amount of time, you don't lose any of those picks either because it doesn't calculate in the compensatory pick formula. So it's smart. The Cowboys, okay, they just traded away Osei Odigizua. We were just talking about. They added Jalen Thompson. They added PJ Locke. They added Sam Howell. We'll talk about backup quarterbacks. They added Otito Ogbonnia, and then they also tagged George Pickens. They re-signed Javonte Williams, which is a little surprise to me. I was not expecting him to agree to a contract and not test the market. And then they also acquired Rashawn Gary. I like what the Cowboys have done. They didn't have to do anything too crazy. I don't think that their roster's that far away to be, competitive. I think the biggest thing was making sure you don't let George Pickens leave that building. Yeah. And they didn't.
CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, do not let them leave. I know they let Michael Parsons leave, but with George, the way he played last year, his yards after catch, was outstanding. I think he was the better receiver of the two. So do not let him leave. Get a Javonte Williams. I like that, but we need another running back over there to make things happen. And the Cowboys, I mean, they're number one in gross revenue, and they're always number one and all that, but you got to win some games. I mean, I think they're $50 million over the cap right now. They got a lot going on, but hopefully Jerry Jones can figure it out during the draft.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Looking at the Commanders here, and we'll wrap it up with the Giants. Commanders are wild. They just keep making moves. They signed Odafe Away. They signed Leo Chenal. They signed Amik Robertson. They signed Caleb Von Chason. They signed Tim Settle. They signed Nick Cross. They extended Laramie Tunsil. They re-signed Marcus Mariota, Nicky Allegretti. They re-signed Andrew Wiley. They re-signed Traylon Burks. They cut Tyler Biadasz and a very injured Marshawn Lattimore coming off major injury. They actually, breaking news, just signed another guy. Charles Omenihu is coming. 1 year, $4 million worth up to $7 million with incentives. The Commanders are spending. The question is that going to translate? Are they going to bring back Deebo Samuel? Are they going to bring in Brandon Ayuk? I mean, there's a lot of different things that we're waiting for with the Commanders. I didn't like what they did. Not at this, but they got rid of Cliff Kingsbury. They got rid of Brian Johnson. I think that was a mistake. I really do. A young quarterback now having to have his third different offensive coordinator. I think it's stupid.
Yeah. Well, what I will say, though, they got Laramie Tunsil. I think that's really important. You're talking about the Texans always giving away tackles. That's a great move. You sign the guy that can protect your quarterback. You might have the gas mask on, but hey, he blocks his ass off. And then Leo Chenal coming from the Chiefs to kind of help out with Jaden Daniels. Like, hey, Jaden, I'm gonna get you every time. Like, throw the ball this way because my hands are here. Like, just having that leadership on the defensive side is great. I think Dan Quinn's gonna love it. I like those two, and then Marcus Mariota, right? He knows the offense. He can make sure that that offense can move. But I think they need to get another quarterback, Jake, another veteran quarterback that if Marcus can't win, that other person needs to win. So because Jaden, unfortunately, after that rookie MVP season, he's been getting hurt. So make sure that you have guys that can go out and get dubs. Marcus can have the offense function, but I don't know if he can get wins. That's the only thing with Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I would say Odafe Owe is a game changer. He really came into his own last year with Minter at the edge, and I think with Dan Quinn, he's going to be really successful. So actually,
yeah,
I mean, he better be successful, right? The way they're paying him, but I like it. I think it's smart, and yeah, that's what I mean. Amik Robertson is the most Dan Quinn. Sorry if I said Dan Campbell earlier. Amik Robertson's the most Dan Quinn type of guy. So, I mean, that dude plays like his hair's on fire. He's like 5'8", and he can lay the wood, man. So,
yeah.
I don't think the Commanders are done either. Like, I do think they're going to end up with Brandon Ayuk or somebody like that to bolster that wide receiver room. But, yeah, I like what they did. I just don't like what they did with the faculty, getting rid of Cliff Kingsbury. I didn't understand that.
Hey, Cliff is a assistant head coach at the Rams. So if I was Cliff, I'd do this. And you get to work with Sean McVay. Like, I'd do it too.
Sure he doesn't mind, but, you know. The Commanders were just in the NFC title game. Then they have a bad year with tons of injuries, and now we're going to overreact and act like, you know, it's like ridiculous. But the Leo Chenal move is the best move because that move was so affordable, so cheap. I don't know what the Chiefs were doing for the life of me. I just don't get it.
The Chiefs, they're just like fire sale, brother. They're just getting rid of everybody on that defense. I don't know what's going on over there, but hey.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But
yeah, the
Giants, we wrap this thing up with new head coach John Harbaugh. Talk about you have on one hand, it's like a game of chess, right? You know, the Titans with
Brian Dable. Yeah.
Dable, they're taking guys over. Well, the Giants are like, all right, well, we're going to take the Ravens players. And they just took Isaiah Likely, and they went out and they took their punter, Jordan Stout, for Christ's sakes. And they go out and they get Patrick Ricard, their fullback. And, they're not done. They're going to get Ardarius Washington. And Jermaine Illuminor, who already was with the Giants, was with the Ravens with John Harbaugh before the Giants. So there's a lot of stuff here. They cut Bobby Okereke. That was surprising. That's a leader. That's a really good player. Greg Newsome, depending on what that contract ends up, I have not liked the way he's played. He had one really good year, and then he's really struggled since. But if they can get something out of him, that would be good. And then
he's the Browns, right? Greg Newsome.
Well, then he got traded to the Jaguars for Tyson Campbell, and I think the Browns. I mean, I don't know what the Jags were thinking trading with Tyson Campbell. I don't think they do either because they let Greg Newsome go as well. So they really didn't get anything from that. But I think the big one here is that Tremaine Edmonds is in New York now. You know, he is your linebacker. He's still, you know, in the ripe age of 27 years old, and he's taken over for Bobby Okereke. And Edmonds is a really good football player. So I like the fit there. I like a lot of what the Giants did. I didn't love the Greg Newsome pickup, but it is what it is. Yeah. Isaiah Likely is intriguing.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite. To be honest, I think he was the best tight end on that Ravens team. And the fact, and you talk about Brian Dable, you talked about Harbaugh. The fact that these players are following this coach, it feels like a college team. Like, oh, my coach is leaving. Well, I'm gonna hit the portal and I'm gonna go with my college coach. But the fact that these players are moving their families and going to New York City, right, the Big Apple, from where they were. I think that says a lot about his character. They want to be with him, right? You want to work with people that you like, and it seems like they do like Harbaugh. So I think that goes more to his character versus anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely fair. When you have a coach like that that's let go, and he has he has great communication skills, but he also has leadership skills, and he can relate to the players, like a player's coach. You're going to have those guys, and we all know this, but when you have the free agency period hits, those guys are going to want to go play. Like, it might not be the entire reason they decide to go there. There might be other reasons, but that is a big reason, and that does give you a leg up in the competition when you're trying to get these high-priced free agents. And I'm sure, the Giants were probably interested in Linderbaum. I'm sure they were interested in other Ravens as well. But they came away with some guys that I think are really going to help their football team. And if the Giants are a team that goes from, last to first, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think Harbaugh is going to have them on the right path. That said, I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't say John Harbaugh should have been fired, because honestly, I felt like it was just time the Ravens moved on. It just felt like it was constantly that 8 and 9 and, we have 12 wins, but we can't get over the hump in the AFC Championship game. I think it made sense adding Minter. But I think the Giants, it made sense going after somebody like Harbaugh, because the same, on the same vein, Brian Dable was not doing them any favors.
No. And Jake, what I will say is, going back to the top of the show with Max Crosby, does the Max Crosby situation happen if Harbaugh is there? I don't think so. I don't think they let Max Crosby go. I think they take him how he is, right? Quote unquote damaged goods or not. I think they take him how he is. They get him rehab, and they get him ready to go. But going back to the character of Harbaugh, the players following him, that's a big testament to his character. And the Giants, I feel a resurgence, Jake. I feel a resurgence for that Giants team.
I mean, it'd be nice, right? Like, I don't like seeing teams stay bad as long as they stay. But I agree with you. I think that there's a level of class that is associated with John Harbaugh. I don't think that would have happened, under his watch. I don't know. I mean, and then now the reports, and of course there's going to be these reports because it makes them sound good, but I don't buy them. Turns out they were actually just trying to get Trey Hendrickson with Max Crosby. Like, okay. All right.
Get out of here. Get the hell out of here.
I don't know. How stupid do you think we are? I don't know. Anyway, this has been.
There's AI. We believe false stuff, but we're not that gullible.
That's true, but this has been a fun one. It's been a long one. We anticipated it being around an hour. We did not know it would be close to 2 hours. So if you stuck with this all the way through, we really do appreciate it. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Cam, do you have any final thoughts before we head on out here?
Man, I'm looking forward to the draft. I mean, there's more free agency stuff. I know we're going to try to record maybe on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. But like you said, thank you all for sticking up with us. And it's been a while since Super Bowl week, since the Rams lost. We kind of slowed down on the podcasting, and now we're back. 2-hour show. We're going to have some clips for you guys. And man, much love.
Hell yeah. So that's going to do it for us. We'll see you guys soon. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot. I saw a long list in the comment section trying to literally donate to us, but could not because we're not monetized yet. So we're trying to get monetized. If you want to help us get monetized, tell everybody you know about Off the Edge. Tell them to subscribe. We get to 1,000. It helps us out, but also watch hours. We're really trying to get those watch hours up. And I think we did it today. In a big way with this long show. So hopefully we'll see how the numbers look, but the watch hours got to go up, and we're going to try and get them up this off season.
Hell yeah. Well, appreciate you all. Much love. And Off the Edge is here to stay.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you guys soon. But until next time, you guys enjoy the rest of your week, and be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. We're out.
Peace.